Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Damn, that song gets me fired the fuck up. That riff is one of the greatest riffs I've ever written in my life. I am so proud of that. That song's called Black Pilled. And once the album comes out, if it ever gets finished, at this point, I don't think it's going to get finished this year, but we'll see. Yeah, that song's called Black Pilled because, you know, it's me. Welcome to Critical Mass, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Live viewers, if you don't know, if you go to my X account at the Rob1772, we do have an X space that's going on. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, once the opening monologue is over, we're going to be opening it up to hands and questions. And we have more leftist violence today. And now there's nothing, we can speculate that this kid had ties to Antifa, and this whole show is about Antifa. So I've been a Proud Boy for 8 years now. And the things that I've seen in that time, I try to impart that knowledge on people because they just don't have a clue. They hear about it here and there. They don't do deep dives into what they are. But I'm going to talk about something that happened 25 years ago, in 2000. And my band was playing in Cambridge, Mass. And Antifa was outside beating people up that were coming in to watch the show. They believed that one of the bands was a Nazi band. Now, I don't think I have ever played with a Nazi band, but this is what they were in 2000. And, we're all sitting in the green room. And by green room, I mean this tiny little closet behind the stage. And we're hearing like patrons that are coming in to watch the show and talking about that there's people like punching them and pushing them. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? So you get all these like big diesel metalheads with like me, if you go to my profile and you go look at the picture I put up yesterday, that's not from that show, but that's exactly what I look like with those spikes on, those spike gauntlets. So we're all dressed in black, and my hair is down to my ass, and I got this gauntlet on with these big metal spikes on it, and we go outside and we're watching these dudes. We're just standing back, and they're yelling at people. They didn't touch anybody while we started watching, and then all of a sudden they grabbed some dude and like picked him up by his like collar and pulled him down on the ground. You're a fucking Nazi for going to watch that Nazi shit. Something to that effect. Now, again, that was 25 years ago. And I jumped in and did what I had to do and kicked their fucking ass. So for me, seeing them do things like this is old hat. I'm not surprised by what you guys, who I call normies, it's a term of endearment, by the way. It's not meant to be disrespectful, but what you guys have been seeing in the last 10 years since Trump announced, and then all of a sudden, a lot of people are like, oh, well, yes, Antifa just came out of nowhere. Well, I urge you to do a deep dive into Antifa and their history and what they've done. Not what the mainstream media is feeding you, not what, you read about on X or anything like that. And my whole point here today is to educate you on how much of a threat they actually are. Now, there was a rally in Providence in 2018 where they were throwing bottles of piss and shit and bricks at the state police. And they ended up spraying everybody. So the Proud Boys came in and made a kind of like a wall between the cops and them. And they were throwing bricks and shit and piss because that's what they do. This is not normal behavior by any stretch of the imagination. I just think of those like capuchin monkeys that, jerk off and throw it at you, and take their own shit and throw it at you. That's kind of what they look like and sound like. And so they ended up spraying everybody in the crowd with this something, aerosol related. And everybody there came down, within 2 days with pneumonia. Now, one of the guys that was there was literally punched in the head by Antifa and ended up getting a concussion. So he ended up going to the hospital. Next thing you know, a year later, I'm not even kidding you, a year later, there was a warrant for his arrest for assault and battery. His arrest. He went to the hospital with a concussion, but there was a warrant, and he was out there protecting the police. This is how deep and involved they are. How far the left will go to shut down free speech. Now, I'm going to talk about one other instance, and this is probably the most prolific incident that has ever happened to me in my life when it comes to them. December 12th, 2020, we were down in D.C., and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have heard me tell the story. I'm sure there's a lot of people that haven't. We went down there, and it was great, man. It was... We walked into Freedom Plaza. I've never been a rock star. I've played the crowds before in my band since like 1995. I know what it is to get on stage and have people cheer for you. But man, the reception that we got when we walked down the street, walked into Freedom Plaza, all the people we took pictures with, all the hugs, all the love, all the, the great, amazing energy. Like, people were smiling. Even though we had just, quote unquote, lost the election, people still had hope. And they were just, it was amazing. It was some of the most amazing moments of my life when it comes to being a proud American and loving this country. And it all gets ruined by Antifa. Well, in this case, it was Antifa/BLM. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and we're all out in front of Harry's. If anybody knows where DC is, we pretty much had that entire intersection. There was like 5,000 people there, easily. And this is how complicit Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at the time, social media was in pushing the narrative that we were all Nazis, all of us. Now, I'm not just talking about Proud Boys. I'm just talking about conservatives. 77 million people are Nazis and fascists. And so I'm standing there, and I see this kid walk in, and he's dressed in black bloc, and this is their preferred color scheme. Actually, his jacket was a little like grayish, but he was wearing a mask. I know he was black because his hood got pulled off of him, and he had come in from BLM Plaza, which was pretty far away from us. And that was done purposely, obviously. Well, it was also because Harry's was awesome and very well, probably one of the only places in D.C. that was welcoming to conservatives. And I see this kid walk in, and he's just looking for a problem. And this woman goes running over and says, "Oh my God, get the fuck out of here, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, hey, you hear me first before you see me on the film, on video, is I'm like, hey, shut your mouth. I'm telling her to shut up because I already know where this is going to go. Nobody really had noticed him yet, and I knew it was going to be bad. I knew in my heart it was going to be bad, and I said, you hear me on video going, dude, you got to get out of here. You got to get the fuck out of here. Get out of here now while you can. I'm trying to tell this kid, please, you got to go, man, because I don't want to see anything bad happen. Obviously, I don't want to see anything bad happen to us, but I know in my heart that if anything happens to him, we're all going to get fucked. So, there's a still shot of me putting my cut-proof gloves on. I bought these gloves specifically for that because I have to worry about going out and saying, I love America, and getting stabbed. This is, I mean, obviously, I'm not really, really worried about it, but I don't want to get stabbed. I still am a fucking human being. So I have these gauntlets on. They're like cut-proof gauntlets, and I'm wearing stab and cut-through gloves, and I'm putting them on. And as I'm putting them on, they took a shot, and he's stabbing one of our guys right in front of me. And so I see this. He takes a swing at me. She grabs the woman that's running her mouth and just wouldn't shut up and just kept making it worse because she just didn't know how to be quiet and let the men handle it. She grabs his hood and kind of pulls it off and spins him around. Now, from behind, somebody's coming up to stop him. Well, he turns around and is now sees him. Had she not done that, he would have been able to come up behind him and grip him up, and we would have been able to handle the situation. And in that situation, he would have got handed to the cops, because none of us want to go to jail. We would have loved to have beat the shit out of him, but in that situation, I mean, he wasn't going to go back to the cops in prime condition. But anyway, I digress. That's not what happened. So he turns around and he stabs this guy. I go running over and I'm trying to pull him off. Next thing you know, the three of us are on the ground rolling down the street. And I'm trying to pull him off. And I just remember, I've been in a lot of fights. I've been stabbed like 3 times in my life when I was growing up. But this was probably one of the most surreal things I've ever felt in my life. So I was wearing a plate carrier. And in that plate carrier, so armor isn't illegal in DC, but if you're wearing body armor in the condition in the commission of a crime, then it becomes a felony. So I always try to I didn't go to DC thinking that I was going to get arrested for anything, because I just don't. But there could be the chance. So I ended up putting a plastic a cutting board. So before I went down there, I had warmed it up with a heat gun and kind of like molded it to my chest and put it in my plate carrier. So that's what I had in my plate carrier. So it was technically not body armor, but it was definitely fucking stab proof. Well, I feel the knife hitting, like he's between me and this other guy, and I feel the knife hitting my plate carrier as it's going into him. Now, before I finished this story, he had come into where we were. One guy, 5,000 drinking, some of them drunk, patriots having a blast. Because you know that Nazis and fascists and bigots and homophobes and racists are in the middle of the street in D.C. dancing to the YMCA, because that's what a Nazi fascist does. But anyway, they had, it was like an hour or two before, I'm not 100% sure the timing of it, but I would say probably about an hour or two before, they had put a wanted poster up on Twitter at the time. They wanted this dude who was now below me getting stabbed. And Twitter allowed them to do this. This was DC Antifa that put this up. And Twitter allowed this. Jack Dorsey allowed this. So this one dude got it off of Twitter that they were looking for this one guy, and one dude wanted his Nazi scalp so bad that he came in to where we were to get him. This is how twisted and indoctrinated they are. So I end up getting pulled off of him by this. Like, I'm not a small dude by any stretch of the imagination. But this dude was like a monster. He was like 400 pounds, like 6'2", 6'3", and he just picked me up like I was like I was a rag doll. He threw me off of him, and they picked him up. And I remember hitting the berm, and the way I hit the berm, I ended up cracking a rib. What I found out later, and everybody there got maced. But before we got maced, I watched this dude get his head stomped in the ground. The cops come running over to me. They grabbed me and threw me up against the building. I'm sitting down, and they swore up and down that I had gotten stabbed. And I was like, no, I didn't get stabbed. And I'm like swatting their hands away from me. And I'm going, leave me the fuck alone. I didn't get stabbed. And I'm watching, well, at the time, what my boy is bleeding out on the street. And then I'm going, no, I didn't. And I take care of him. I'm screaming, take care of him, not me. I'm fine. No, you got stabbed. So they pull the plate carrier off of me, and they're doing like a blood check on me, and there wasn't. And I just remember looking over, and the first guy that got stabbed was sitting there literally holding his intestines in his hand and bleeding out on the street. Nobody died, thankfully. But this happened in 2020. What you guys are seeing now with all of this leftist violence is stuff that they have been doing for years and years and years, and you just didn't want to see. You didn't think that they were capable of it because we discounted them. Not we, but for the most part, the majority of the conservative party, the Republicans, MAGA, really, really, truly discounted them because, I mean, look at them. You know, we say they can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. Now, I want you guys that are watching now or later, look up the John Brown Gun Club. This is an exclusive club for Antifa that goes and trains with the same guns that we have, ARs. And they train, like really train. My point to all this, they want a war to happen. They believe that all of us that don't follow their ideology, the trans ideology, the global homo agenda, that, if we don't believe that conservatives are Nazis and fascists and we're all racist, if you don't align with them, they want you dead. And when I say that to people, and I've said that for years, they want us dead, I get, Rob, you're being hyperbolic. Rob, you're being overly dramatic. No, it's true. They can't see any other way. They believe that they are in a war. They believe that they are in a war for trans children. They believe that they are in a war for homosexual children. They believe that they're in a war for, black rights and illegals' rights and, aborting babies. Whereas, and they believe that that those things are what makes America great. Whereas on our side, we look at, I would say it's pretty normal to think that it's not okay to give a 12-year-old a double mastectomy. Like, it's not okay for NAMBLA to exist. It's not okay for men to sleep with young boys, underage boys. But because I say that, I'm a bigot. Because I won't sleep with a trans person and I have genital preferences that I am a transphobe because I don't want to have anything to do with a lady penis. And that because of that, and me talking about it to you, they want me dead. They want you dead. And it's a hard thing for people to open up their mind about. They don't want to think this way. People don't want to go through life thinking that there is a huge subset of people in this country that want to see you die. Like, I don't ever want to see anybody die. Like, I want us to all come together and love this country. You know, I want us all to unite against the real enemy, which I think is the government, but that's another story for another time. But that's not going to happen. I think a lot of this is artificially done to keep us divided. But at the same time, there's got to be a point where people start doing the research for themselves and opening up their minds and saying, hey, what is really going on right now? Antifa are so indoctrinated into this belief that if you think differently than them or you believe differently than them, that your life is not worthwhile. They want you dead. I could never be, and I'm not going to talk about Charlie Kirk. Everybody has been making a living off of it lately. And I mean that in the best way, but also the most disrespectful way is that we just can't let them go in peace. And there are a lot of people that are grifting off of this right now, but I could never be Charlie Kirk. I am not as forgiving. I am not as open as he is. That makes me a bad Christian. I understand this. I'm okay with that. God and I will have a conversation about it later in private. But Charlie's voice was one of compassion and love. I never heard anything come out of his mouth that could even resemble hate. If you try to get into the conversation with him and try to hype it up, he would try to bring the temperature down and give facts. And they don't want to hear facts. They've never wanted to hear facts. It is not okay to cut a penis off of an 11-year-old boy. It's not. It's not okay for the state of Maine to have a law stating that any child from around the country gets to their state, that the state can take them and trans them against the wishes of their parents. This is not okay. There's nothing that would make this okay. This is not a normal way to live. But because I say that, I have a target on my back. Because you say that, you have a target on your back. Charlie had a target. Just like today. Now, I said something earlier on the show, and I want to make myself clear. I said something that was extremely hyperbolic, but I do want to be clear about it. If people came here illegally and they're working their asses off and they're trying to partake in the American dream and they're not trendy agua or drug dealers or cartel members or any of that stuff, your life has value. Just come back, go out and come back in the right way. Okay. But this kid, Joshua Johns, and I don't really care how it's pronounced if I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. I don't really give a shit. He decided he was going to post up on a building across the street from an ICE detention center and just randomly shoot into an ICE van with anti-ICE slogans on the bullets. I feel bad if those people were not trendy agua. I feel bad that um, you know, 2 people died. If they were, again, but he wasn't aiming at them. He probably thought, I don't know what was going on in his mind. I can't say that. I don't want to be that guy either. But I'm sure he assumed that van was filled with ICE agents and he was trying to take ICE agents out. There's no doubt about that. And this is the ideology of the left. This is where they're at right now. They are posting up as snipers. They are training. And I'm going to end on this. I have a guest in the studio, and then we're going to bring him in, and because he's going to talk about Antifa in the PNW, the Pacific Northwest, Portland to be exact. And I want to get, because he's been on the ground too, and I want to get his take on it. But they believe that protecting our borders, protecting the sovereignty of this country, makes you a fascist also. So all of these people that came in here illegally, they want them to be, they fight so hard for somebody who's a known criminal and known to be a part of a gang to bring him back in this country than they do fighting for the people that are in this country and trying to make this country better. They believe that these people are making this country better, and I don't. And most normal people that have a sense of rationale know that that's not true either. But the fact is they want you dead. And now they're showing the entire world. They are showing the entire world what their intentions are, what they want to do. And with that, I'm going to bring my buddy Doc in. Doc, I'm going to unmute you.
All right.
Doc, what's going on, brother?
Well, less than ideal conditions. My dinosaur MacBook doesn't do the current version of Chrome, so it wouldn't let me in the studio. So I'm on my phone.
All right. Well, you sound good, at least.
All right. Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Well, I was giving people the perspective from the Northeast, what Antifa's done in New England, what I've experienced personally. Well, obviously DC's not New England, but I'm talking about here in my experiences. I mean, I have a whole ton more experiences, but I pointed out three of the most prolific times that I've dealt with them. And give me your perspective from the PNW, my friend. And
Okay. Well, yeah,
we're going to go to hands.
yeah. They really started popping up. Right after the World Trade Organization riots in Seattle and Occupy Wall Street in Portland. Um, that was when we really started seeing them start to organize. Since then, long about 2014, early 2015, we started seeing an outfit called Rural Organizing Project. Now, this is the recruiting, training, and farm team for all of these riots and agro and eco terrorism efforts that they're into. These people are very, very well organized, very well funded, and extremely well connected, both in state government and NGOs and nonprofits. Uh, what they do, the way they operate, is they'll buy properties in rural areas, and they're well established in all the counties in Oregon right now, and also at least half in Washington. Their nominal head, Spencer Sunshine, is currently establishing in the Yakima area. Uh, but what they'll do is they'll buy these properties or lease them, uh, and they'll hire uh, local kids, young people, 16 to about 22, uh, at $35 an hour to start to sit on these properties and train. Uh, I've been tracking a couple of local places since about 2015. Um, a friend has a nonprofit here in Glendale, South Douglas County, and they've been after her to try to get in the door there ever since she established. But like I say, they'll take these young kids in these depressed areas. They'll offer them a ton of money. You know, they've got no jobs, no prospects, and really no purpose. So they'll offer them all three. They'll put them on these properties to train, and then they will bust them wherever they're needed. I've seen a lot of familiar faces in places like Kenosha, places like um, places like Ferguson. Um, these are local people, from here in Southern Oregon who are showing up in these places for these riots.
So, what have you seen them do?
Everything from tossing Molotov cocktails at federal buildings to starting wildfires to
Starting wildfire.
poisoning crops and livestock, cutting fences. There was an incident early on during the Chetco Bar fire. It's a 160,000 acre wildfire down here in Southwest Oregon. Started over near Brookings, ended up getting almost to Grants Pass. During that, when all of the assets were dedicated to fighting that fire, they started another fire, and the only living stand of redwoods still in Oregon, because that property was owned by a logging company. So this is some of what they do.
It's crazy.
So last at the beginning of the year, I think it was January. Yeah, January of 2025. A border patrol agent was shot. Let me see if I can bring up his name. Border patrol agent David Malland was killed during a traffic stop in Coventry, Vermont, on Route 91. And he was killed by what I call, and what I have always called, Trans-Tifa. So there are people that say the Trans-Tifa doesn't exist. Well, we coined the phrase Trans-Tifa. They don't call themselves Trans-Tifa. So we willed that into existence, because if you're trans and you're Antifa, you're Trans-Tifa.
Okay, something to recognize. This is this is a cohesive effort. Doesn't matter what they're calling themselves this week. They were Black Lives Matter for a while. They were Antifa for a while. They were Occupy for a while. At the end of the day, it's the same group of people.
Yeah.
John Hacker's been president in all of it. Jesse Sponberg was heavily involved before he got relocated to Hawaii a few years back. But their function is always the same. They are primarily, an analog for Mao's Red Guard. Their entire purpose is to cause chaos so that the system can be torn down and rebuilt in the image that I think at this point we can safely say the CCP wants.
The CCP absolutely wants to see the destruction of this country.
Well, and that's not just a random statement.
No,
the CCP currently owns most of the private timberland in this state. They are gradually edging out Sinaloa on the illegal grows, the trafficking operations, that sort of thing. That's large. Yeah, that's mostly under Chinese control
now. So yeah, let me real quick. Let me get back to the border patrol agent in Vermont. So when I say Trans-Tifa, I'm getting into this. There is a cult. They are Antifa, but they're trans. They're called Zizians. Take a look at them. They are linked to 6 homicides in 3 different states. And the people that were in the vehicle, Teresa Youngblood and Felix Buchholz. Buchholz was killed in the shootout while Youngblood was wounded and arrested. They killed a border patrol agent just because the border patrol agent existed as a border patrol agent. And this group, they are extreme, and they train. Look up what they do. The John Brown Gun Club is another one that you guys need to really pay attention to. They've been banned on most of all of the ranges here in New Hampshire. I know where they train in Maine, and I know of a place in Vermont. It's not 100%, so I'm not even going to say the name of the place. But most of the ranges here are like, no, because they are training to kill you. They believe a war is coming, and this is what they're doing right now. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, everybody, but we let it get here. We were too peaceful. We were too loving. We were too caring. We were too godlike. We were too trying to be acceptant of others' personal beliefs. And we let them steamroll us for 30 years. And now we're at a spot where somebody like Charlie Kirk can get shot, and somebody is emboldened enough to post up on a building across from an ICE detention center and just wildly shoot into, and by wildly, I mean he had no idea what targets were in the van. I assume, like I said in the beginning, I assume he thought that it was, a van full of ICE agents, because I'm sure that he didn't want to kill an illegal. And this is where we're at right now. And I keep telling people, you're going to see more of this as time goes on. It's only gonna ramp up. I mean, I saw what they did in Portland, dude. I mean, I've never been out there, but a lot of my guys have been, and it was crazy because the Proud Boys announced that they were going into Portland. They literally walked across that bridge. They were in the center of Portland at some park. I don't even know the name of the park. They knelt down and set
Pioneer Park.
Yes. They knelt down and prayed to God and prayed for the city of Portland. Got up, turned around, walked away, and went and had a barbecue. And they literally burned the city down after that, because people decided they wanted to come and pray to God, because a bunch of Nazis or a bunch of fascists came in there. This is what they believe is okay. This is righteous for them. I've been trying to for years to sound the alarm on this, that you guys need to pay attention to this, that every single American should be able to go and buy a gun and train with it and be able to protect yourselves. The fact that I can't go to Boston, and Doc, I'll let you go before I talk about what happened in Boston, but the fact that I can't go to Boston without and pray for somebody, or be a part of a prayer vigil for somebody that was killed without worrying about getting stabbed to death, is unlike anything I've ever experienced in all the time I've been on this planet. And I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up in a fucking rough motherfucking neighborhood. That shit was no joke when I was growing up. Like, you had to be hard. There was fights all the time, but I don't remember anything like this. This is just insane. We got into fight because we were talking shit to one another over ball. We were playing.
Yeah, it's a good time on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's just, you're talking shit while you're playing stickball in the middle of the street. You got popped in the mouth, and that was it. This level of violence over the last 25 years. I mean, they lost their minds when Bush won, first of all, because they remember Daddy Bush, and they believe that Al Gore won the election. And the last thing that any of us conservatives ever wanted was Al Gore and Tipper Gore, of all people, anywhere near the fucking White House. People say that metal is the bastion of all things liberal ideology, and it's not, man. We've been literally fighting Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, since 1985. Like, we hated her then. We're going to have the same values now. But so what was that area in the Chop? Is that what it was called? The Chop? That was the area. Yep. Yeah. What else was it called? I know there was another name for it.
There was Chaz also.
The Chaz. There was two separate sections of Portland, or was it just
the same general area?
Same general area. Now, wasn't the guy that was running that a convicted felon?
Yeah, he was one of Sponberg's proteges.
Yep. And what did they do during that time? Because I'm sure that there are people in here. I do actually see some people that aren't even from our country that probably have no idea about any of this.
Yeah. Well, basically, what they did was they barricaded streets in a portion of the city and declared it a law enforcement free zone. basically cops couldn't go there. Meanwhile, you also had Ted Wheeler, who was telling the cops not to go there.
That was the mayor, right?
Yep.
Yep. So the mayor was involved in this. The mayor was incentivizing these people to burn the city down.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, during Summer of Love, when they were doing their stuff all over the city,
Yeah.
setting fires in residential areas and busting windows and all of that, he decided to make a speech in support. And some of them jumped up on the stage and beat his ass too.
I remember that. I do remember that. And then I also remember that there were 13. Maybe I'm wrong in the number, but I remember there was 13 rapes that happened.
At least that many. At least those were the ones that were reported. That was a commonplace practice.
And there were a couple of murders too, right?
Yes. And the the press of the Portland charter of Simon Says is currently doing life for defending the clubhouse against a bunch of them.
Wait. What?
Yeah, Gypsy Joker's charter press is doing life right now because he smoked one of them when a bunch came at the clubhouse.
I didn't know that. So, all right. Do you guys have Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground in Oregon?
Sort of, but see, in Portland it gets a little more tricky. For example, Ed, you're well aware of John Hacker, yes?
Yes.
Okay. A friend of mine was subpoenaed to testify in an assault case against his girlfriend. Was outside on the courthouse steps having a smoke, and Hacker came out, jumped him, beat him until he suffered massive brain damage. He was in the hospital for several weeks after that, in front of 3 Portland cops. They eventually collected him, took him back in the courthouse, and he was given unsupervised probation. Okay, so there's a big disparity in enforcement.
Yep.
Okay, these guys have the full support of city and state government. That's what I was kind of alluding to with ROP earlier. Our county head for ROP lives in Roseburg, but it also chairs the governor's advisory committee on LGBT issues. So these people are extremely well connected, and like I say, the DSA Democrats that pretty much run the state are in full support of these people.
This is what we have. We have indoctrinated people that are being incentivized to go out and pull all this because we have leftist controlled DAs, leftist controlled judges, leftist controlled mayors that, I'm not going to paint with a broad brush. I'm sure that there are a lot of police officers out there that looked on in this stuff in disgust, and they didn't do anything because they were worried about their pensions and they were worried about getting fired.
Bottom line, if they say a word about it, they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah, and they would lose their job.
Whether it's Oregon State Police, Portland Police Bureau, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office.
I'm also talking about not just Portland. I'm talking about everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere, every and that's the thing. What happened in Boston last Thursday was I have never seen the Boston PD come out like that. Like there was a rally, and I was most people don't know the geography of Massachusetts, but I was in a place called Falmouth, Mass, and I had a couple of my guys that were in Boston in the Common, and it was like 2,000 or 3,000 Antifa surrounded 4 people, and he called me. He's like, "Hey Rob, I need you to, I need to get the hell out of here. I need your help." So I jumped in my truck, and it literally took me 19 minutes from Falmouth to Boston, and which is, if you don't know it, I was literally doing 120 miles an hour on the highway, and I get into Boston, and the cops There was 3 cops that were standing with them, and then they were surrounded by Antifa. And these 3 cops had their bicycles, and it was kind of like almost like a really like off triangle that they were. And I drove in, I got out, got them in the truck, and hightailed it out of Boston. But all the rest of the Boston cops were way off somewhere else. These 3 cops were the only ones that were willing to protect these guys, and they were trying to kill them. They were literally trying to kill them. So Thursday night, Thursday afternoon, we had CERT teams show up. We had SWAT teams show up, state police, CERT and SWAT. We had county sheriffs, which in Massachusetts, county sheriffs are only process servers. They don't really have law enforcement, whereas like in New Hampshire, our sheriff's department, you don't fuck with those guys. Not even the state police fuck with those guys up here. We have real constitutional sheriffs up here. Again, Massachusetts, if you got it, like, court documents, they're going to come to your house, and the sheriffs, that's what they do. But so we had sheriffs out there. We had BPD, state troopers. And it was all because Michelle Wu was told that if anything happened at this rally, they knew something was going to happen. But she was told very specifically that if something happens at this rally, your chances of ever becoming mayor again are done. You are done. That's the only reason why she activated the Boston Police Department, because she only cared about her position as mayor. She didn't care that Charlie Kirk was having a memorial, that Americans were going to come out and exercise their First Amendment and pray for somebody that was brutally murdered, assassinated. She didn't care about that. But anyway, I got to give the Boston cops credit, and I got to give credit when credit is due. They were out there, and Antifa did everything in their power to try to sneak in and cause problems for the 5,000 people that were there. That was the estimate. It was 5,000 people there. And so they would come in from one side of Beacon Street. So the cops would get distracted, and they would run down Beacon Street to stop them while they were coming in from another end of Beacon Street. Or while they were coming in from that end of Beacon Street, they were trying to come up Tremont, and they were trying to sneak in through Park Street. And it was just every time they turned around, they were doing this tactic so that they could try to sneak in, because they wanted to hurt us for praying, for speaking about Charlie in a positive way. We had this one guy come in. It's on video. You guys can go to my page and watch it. It's the first one from that day, where I'm filming this guy. He walked into the crowd of us, didn't care, with a battery operated speaker and microphone, calling us all fascists, calling us all racists, calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi. You can't sit here and pray for, a Nazi. We're not allowing this. And he's just going off. So at one point, a lot of the people that were in the crowd had come up, and they were holding American flags in front of him and blocking him. So he tried to push through them. And there was this one guy who was typical Boston Irish, but a big, big, big boy with a very big pit bull got in this dude's face. It was awesome. And he's like, and you know what? I don't give a shit. And he goes, this is my address. And I guarantee you that really was his address, because he was definitely saying, come to my house. And of course, they won't come to his house, because that is
I've given directions a few times.
Yeah. And listen, I don't mind telling people my address either, because when you hit the end of my road, at the beginning of my road, it literally looks like something out of a horror movie. And I guarantee you will be fucking petrified driving down my road. It really does look like something out of like Deliverance. And please do. Please do.
Yeah, I'm at the end of a very rural county road myself.
Yeah, dude, I live on a mountain, and it's a dirt road, and it's densely populated with trees, and you just at night, it's, if you don't know it, it's a very scary situation. But anyway, so they ended up this dude. So I didn't ask for this, but I ended up being like the head of security for the night. Everybody, deferred to me on these things, and I didn't think that I was ever going to be in that position. I actually thought, oh shit, the space dropped. All right, I'm sorry about that, guys. The space completely crashed out on me. I apologize. So they came to me and they came to the other guys and said, "Hey, is this guy part of the?" And we're like, "No," and he wouldn't leave, so he ended up getting arrested. Now, the official reports is that I think it was like 7 people got arrested. No, it was like 70. They packed up a lot of these people. They at one point, Buckster had come up to me and was like, "They're behind the tree, and there's this huge tree that's right across from the memorial, and they were hiding behind the tree because they were trying to get to us. They just couldn't let us speak positively about Charlie Kirk and pray for him." Well, they started with the banging on the pots and pans, and then one of them was definitely a trans. Took the American flag and wiped his ass with it because I'm fuck your pronouns. Wiped his ass with it and threw it at a veteran. And it was very hard. They were doing everything in their power to get people riled up to do something stupid. And luckily, everybody was calm. Everybody was trying to espouse Charlie's message of peace and love and unity. And when they finally couldn't shut us down, when they finally couldn't keep us quiet, they called in a bomb threat. And then the cops shut us down. They were like, "Oh, there's a credible bomb threat. Everybody's got to go." Now, if it was me, it wasn't my event. If I was the one that started that event, I would have never shut it down, because this is how they win. They're willing to call in a terroristic, and if you don't think that they are a terrorist organization, only terrorists use the tactics that they use to silence your freedom of speech, to silence your to take away your sovereignty.
Well, and on that note, this is kind of what I was getting at with the way they're organized, the way ROP recruits for these outfits. You meant, Trans Tifa, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, whatever they're calling themselves this week. It's the same core group. But the way they recruit is exactly the way we saw in the Middle East. They get the sit around Joes, the ones with no jobs, no prospects, no purpose. They offer them all three. And they'll put them on these properties to quote unquote train. And they are literally training as insurgents. Some of them have been shipped over to Syria for exactly that. This is exactly the same model. And it's endlessly frustrating. I try to make this clear to people, and nobody's listening. That this is what we're up against. We're looking at a domestic Belzarkawi network. And you remember how effective they almost were.
Yep.
Against our troops in Iraq. The recruiting, the methods, all of that are the same. The goal is the same. The accents might vary, but this is exactly what we're looking at. And in terms of the training, we've identified, my little group has identified at least two green beanies and one SEAL that are being paid to train these people.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is that there are a lot of people who have been trained by our military that have the same mindset, the same ideology, and they're imparting their knowledge.
Enough money changes a lot of minds.
Yeah, it does. It does. But listen, there's no amount of money that somebody could give me that is going to make it okay for me to be all right with transing children. Like, you can hand me $100 million, I'm not gonna be like, oh well, yeah, no, let's cut their penises off and do double mastectomies.
Absolutely.
For me, it's, I don't know. I would just hope I try to look people like they're like most people wouldn't. I know that a lot of people would, but So after that, after we left, the guy that organized the vigil that night, his name was Brian. Three of them ended up going to his house and cutting his fence and tried to break into his house. They called the cops. Cops came, drew their guns on him. This is how serious it was. And they ran off and got away and haven't heard anything about it since. I haven't heard anything about it. At one point, there was a guy that was in the crowd who was filming. I'm sure I'm on the film. And there was another guy that was taking notes, everybody that was speaking. So this, I'm trying to give you guys the details on this. Please hear this. They're taking down people's names for speaking at a vigil, saying what Charlie did to change their lives. This is really what all of the speakers were talking about, how Charlie impacted their lives and what it meant to them to be a part of Turning Point, or be, what Turning Point's message did for them. And they're writing people's names down, and then I get a message, maybe 3-4 hours later, that they have because they do have a doxing website. That's the other thing too, is they have websites where when they dox you, they put your name, your address, all of your relevant info that they can get, where you work, the whole 9 yards, and they put it out there so that anybody can go to this website, see who the local fascist is, so that they can make it easy for them to attack your children in school. This is psychotic. There's nothing fucking normal about this. And as I'm going home, my phone's blowing up, and I'm on my motorcycle. So every time my phone blows up, the music stops, because I got tunes on my bike, and the music stops, and my phone's just blowing up. And I finally get home, and I see that obviously they doxed me. They doxed every single speaker there, and then come to find out that they went to Brian's house and they did this. And then the very next day, Tuesday. Tuesday of last week. Was it Tuesday? Whatever day it was, I was coming back from football, my son's football game, and somebody who was Antifa related screen and came to my state, came to New Hampshire, the safest state in the country. Per capita, what they don't tell you is, whatever the numbers are, we have more guns per capita than any other state in the country, which is true. Went to Nashua, New Hampshire, went to a wedding and said, free Palestine, and shot into the people in the restaurant and killed, I think he was 56 years old, a 56-year-old man, here in New Hampshire. Now, Antifa and BLM here in New Hampshire are made up by geriatric white women and geriatric white men that have, barbecues and cookie socials and shit like that at the Concord.
Voted on Facebook. Been demoted on Facebook for that comment.
Jeff, thank you. We're still doing the live. It's not going to be open until the live's done. Thanks, Jeff. They have baking socials. That's what the BLM and Antifa here is in New Hampshire. We don't have the crazies like that. And it turns out this kid was a native from New Hampshire and a native from Nashua that did this. And his ideology is, we need to free Palestine, so we're going to kill people at a fucking wedding on a golf course. This is, again, I'm trying to tell you, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, and I'm not trying to be doom pilling people and espousing fear porn, but this is the reality of the situation right now. What you're not seeing, or what you refuse to see, is that they are a deadly threat, and you should treat them as such.
I would take it a step further and say that they're an existential threat to the Republic. And they're well established on both coasts and the Midwest, and they're pushing inland.
Yep. So, I don't know. I'm trying to tell you this stuff from my experience. Doc is trying to tell you this from his experience. There's plenty of people out here. There's plenty of people that you can talk to that you may not know have had experience with Antifa, but they have. I mean, Enrique will talk about it anywhere. The things that they've done to him. You know, he got stabbed at the November. In November, he was in D.C. and he got stabbed. I mean, it was a paper cut, and he cried about it because he's gay. He's actually in the studio right here, so I'm trying to make fun of him, but I don't know if he can hear me or not. But no, seriously, he got stabbed when he was down there just for being him. You know, the black face of white supremacy. That's what they literally call him, the black face of white supremacy. Does that make
here's the thing.
Sense to anybody?
Yeah, what we're actually in the middle of right now is a Marxist color revolution. They can't use class in the U.S. because that's too mutable. You're not guaranteed to end up where you started out in either direction. So they have to use race. They have to use gender. That's the reason they're pushing the trans ideology. It's not that they believe in it. It's just a good way to incorporate some more quote unquote oppressed into their cause. And I guarantee you, they may not be visible yet, but they are where you are. You know, they're already establishing in Idaho, for fuck's sake.
That's actually kind of surprising that Idahoans are going to put up with that shit.
Well, Idahoans don't generally, but there's not a lot of them. What there are a lot of is a lot of Californians and Portlanders that are moving into Boise. That's why Boise is now flying the trans flag as its official flag. You've got prosecutors there who are, 100% on board. You've got, you've got a DA that's far left, even though they make noises to the contrary to get reelected. You've got a mayor who's pushing all of the agenda, and that little area, and most Idahoans I know will dismiss it, say, "Oh, that's just Boise." And we're good. We've passed laws to make it uncomfortable for them, and they'll just leave. Problem is, they won't.
No, they won't.
Marxists don't function that way. If there is a place that they are not in control of, they will do everything in their power to gain control of it. And that's purpose behind this mass migration. They're flooding Boise. Fairly soon, they'll have the same dynamic there that they do here in Oregon. Most Oregonians do not align with any of that shit. Most of us are loggers, stump jumping hillbillies, gun toting, woods living, rural types. We're the loggers and the mill workers. Problem is, we've been out of work for 35 years because of the spotted owl. So there aren't much resources. A lot of people have moved on to other areas where it was a little less expensive to live. But more than half the population of the state lives in Metro Portland. We have counties the size of New Hampshire with less than 7,000 people.
That's the problem here, and places like Maine and Vermont, where we are a red state, so we have an overwhelming majority in the House, an overwhelming majority in the Senate. We have a Republican governor, but we have 4 of the worst Congress people ever: Jeanne Shaheen, Maggie Goodlander, Chris Pappas, and Maggie Hassan. How they get in, that's another story for another time. But
yeah, I'll see you them and raise you a Ron Wyden and a Jeff Merkley.
Oh, I don't know if anybody's. I don't know really if. I don't know if either one of them are worse than Chris Pappas. Check out Chris Pappas one of these days, dude. We might have to go back and forth on this one.
Well, when we stood up in Burns for the Hammonds, Wyden publicly called us a virus that needed to be eradicated.
I think Maggie Goodlander said something along those lines. About the culture of New Hampshire and how it needs to be stomped out. It's like, wait a minute now, hold the fuck on. She's a carpetbagger anyway. But I don't want to go down that road right this second. But you have my state where you have blue cities like Nashua, you have blue cities like Concord, and you have blue cities like Manchester used to be a blue city. Now they finally have a Republican mayor who's cleaning up the city, which is amazing. But that's the major population centers. Just like Maine, you got Portland, you got Augusta, and you got Bangor. But the rest of that state is as deep, deep, deep red as it gets. They just don't have the amount of people that say Portland do.
Exactly. Land doesn't vote.
You're right. So, but then again, you get into northern Maine, it is like these people, they don't come out to vote because they're so far from like voting stations. But they just don't vote. They don't get involved. They just want to live on their, 2,000 acre, piece of property and not just be bothered, and they don't care. It's kind of like that in our state. Although this last election, we really got out there and really hit the pavement. And then Vermont's the same way. I mean, Vermont, northeast of say Burlington is all red, like Newport and the areas like that, St. Joe'sburg, Johnsburg. All that whole area is fucking deep, deep, deep red. But you got Burlington and you have Montpelier. Those are big blue cities. Like Burlington, you would never think that Burlington, Vermont, would be like a center of drugs and cartel members, but Burlington is now really bad because they've allowed this stuff in, and Antifa thrives in Burlington. So I think it's all right. Hold on one second. We do have requests. So let me reset this for a second, guys. We're gonna go on the live. We're gonna go another 10 minutes, and then we're gonna bring it exclusively over to the space. Doc, could you mute for 1 second, please, for a second?
Certainly.
All right, yeah, we're getting some feedback from you. Hold on 1 second, bro. So first of all, I want to thank everybody that's come into the space tonight. This is a really big space, and there's a lot of people in here. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. For the 1,000 people that are watching right now, thank you very much. For the people that are watching, if you don't know, we are doing an X space alongside of this. If you want to join the conversation, and that means anybody here that's already in here, please request up, take a mic, put your hand up. We're gonna get into talking about this. If you want to say something, you have a comment, or you have a question for either Doc or I, we'll be here for it. I want to thank you guys again. Truly, we also, a lot of people have said to me, "Hey, Rob, when are you going to do subscriptions?" I'm never going to do subscriptions. But if you do want to support the show, we have T-shirts and hats that are live right now. Conservative Pen will put them up in the nest. If you're interested, the hats are really cool. If you can see that, they're pretty badass. There's three colors: black with the white. There's multicam black with black writing, and then there's OD green, which is really, the OD green on these hats is really, really hot. But I do appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. So do we have any Pen? Do we have any questions right now, or anybody that wants to join in on the conversation?
It looks like Rusty just raised their hand.
Okay, go ahead, Rusty.
Good afternoon. It's a very important topic. I guess I was kind of curious your take on, I remember during Trump's first term, when everything was burning down, they found one of those Antifa members happened to be a representative's son. Do you guys remember that? And I'm kind of curious, like a Democrat representative. And I'm just kind of curious how prevalent you think that is, and where are they getting this training from? I know you guys had touched on that a little bit, and I apologize if I missed that.
So one of the organizations is called the John Brown Gun Club. They are an exclusive Antifa gun club where they go to ranges and they train. And they have people who have been in the military that are imparting military tactics on them to train them because they believe that there's a war. The John Brown Gun Club is the one that's probably the biggest and most national. So I would urge you to look that up. And there are some, small town representatives out there that are actually Antifa themselves, and they're outing themselves. There's a couple of people in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, that hold positions in school boards and stuff that were cheering for Charlie Kirk dying, and they say that they're Antifa, and we're not. It's more prevalent than you think it is.
Wow, that's crazy. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, have you seen anything like that, Doc, out in Portland? Where
Yeah, well, like I say, the primary tool they have here is Rural Organizing Project, and they're established with at least 2 properties in every county in this state. There's 36 counties, 10 to a dozen people training on each of these properties, and that I know of personally, they've got coverage in about half of Washington State.
Cap, go ahead, and then we'll go to Jeff.
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
We're getting some feedback really quick. Sorry.
Yeah,
somebody's got.
Yeah, Doc, your phone has got some crackly feedback going on right now.
I'm going to go ahead and drop out. If you want, I'll join the space so I can answer any questions there.
All right, yeah, cool. That'd be great. Thanks, Doc. All right, there we go. Cap, go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. He's still here.
Yeah, no, I got it.
So, this is going to be a sensitive question. I know this space is being recorded, but I really don't give a damn. Okay.
Good. That's what I like, bro.
No, well, I swore an oath to this country. All right. Just like any other veteran did. And we've been over that 1,000 times already. I believe in this country. I love this country. That's all there's to it. It's the greatest country in the world. Tell me different. But I believe that we still got people in government. And you watch a lot of the conservatives, how they sit on their hands. And some people say, oh, they're just spineless and whatever other dumb excuse they come up with, and they're in on it. Unless somebody can convince me otherwise, they're in on it. How can you sit there and represent a party where you say that you're all about the Constitution, you're all about conservatism, you're all about America, and you let these fools run around and terrorize people? Tom Homan, I just found out, he can't even go home now. He doesn't want anybody knowing where his family is. I mean, it's gotten that deep. And I'm looking at the conservatives, and I'm wondering, when are you going to put your foot down and just recognize it for what it is? We're going to be attacked. We are being attacked, actually. I mean, Charlie Kirk's death, unfortunately, it's just part of what they've been doing. I've been watching these fools for years, and I used to make the same remarks you did, Rob, and people look at you like you're crazy.
Yep.
And here we are. Now we're here. Now what? But again, I point the finger at the conservatives in Congress, the Senate, and any other conservative politician that's just sitting there not doing anything. I don't see anybody pushing for anything. Trump's the only one that I've seen do something. All right. I don't know if you saw that it was I don't know if it was an email, but it was directed at Pam Bondi.
It was a truth. It was a truth post.
Right. Okay.
Well, she's doing what Pam Bondi does.
Yeah.
Listen, I have never look his first term. I was very adamant about people that he chose to surround himself with. I gave him some grace because obviously he's new to politics. I still believed in his message, but I thought Mike Pence was one of the worst picks for a VP ever.
Absolutely.
I was so disappointed in that. I was like, this is not like this guy couldn't be any more unaligned with Trump, without a doubt.
Rob,
Yeah.
I looked at this guy and I'm like, are you serious? You just picked Race Bannon to be your vice president? I mean, are you kidding me? If people don't know who Race, I'm sorry about that.
No, go ahead, dude. Go ahead.
Tell me he doesn't look like Race Bannon. It was a cartoon called Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest,
look it up
yeah.
on the internet, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Race Bannon he's Race Bannon's double.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But yeah, like I said, I don't see enough. I see the Democrats supporting everything that's going on in regards to Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They're turning the other cheek. They didn't even stand for the families of those girls that were killed by illegals.
Nope.
I mean, they showed no respect at all. Are you kidding me? That's defiance right there.
Yep.
It's not about politics anymore. It's good and evil, flat out. Y'all better believe it because it's coming. And I'll land it there.
Thanks, Cap. Listen, I'll be the first. I'm always the first one in any space that I'm in or anybody that I'm talking to. And I tried, again, like I've said multiple times during the show, like I've been trying to ring the alarm bells about these people for a long time. People just don't want to see it. They don't want to believe that other human beings and other Americans are capable of doing these things. They want to be blissfully unaware. My son's mother's like that. She just doesn't want to believe that people are like this. And through the 20 some odd years that I've known her, she's literally come around to the point like, oh my God, Rob, you've always been right. And she hates to, that's probably like acid in her mouth to say that I'm right about anything. It really truly is. If you knew her, you would find this very funny, but she's got me. It's true. It's like acid in her mouth, like probably like chewing nails, that she has to admit that I'm right about something. And she's seeing it. And she's like, Rob, you called this 20 years ago. And I was like, yeah, you just thought I was being overly dramatic about it. And no, this is exactly what they are doing. They are pushing this to the point that back then they were pushing it to the point of no return. With the three things that have happened in the last week, Charlie, New Hampshire, and now Texas, they have pushed it to the point of no return as far as I'm concerned.
But what's your opinion real quick? I'm sorry. I got a little long-winded. What's your opinion about what I just said? Do you feel the same way?
Yes.
Do you feel that a certain party's letting us down?
I believe our party is letting us down.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a fucking doubt. I have no problem saying it whatsoever. None. Listen, I vote Republican because it's the closest thing that aligns with my ideals and my constitutional conservative nature. But I don't believe that the Republicans represent me as a whole. I believe in the Constitution. How many rhinos were involved in voting for FOPA in '86? How many Republicans voted for the '94 crime bill and the NICS system and the 4473? Like, I mean, they have been subversive. That's why we call them rhinos, Republican in name only. They don't align with my values, but I vote that way because they align more closely. Well, I mean, unfortunately, unless something catastrophic happens, we're never going to get a viable third party. We know this, and I know this because I voted for Ross Perot when I was 18 years old. I didn't fall for the bullshit of Bill Clinton coming out on Arsenio Hall playing his saxophone and saying that, oh, I never inhaled. I didn't fall for that like the rest of the 18-year-olds around me did. I voted for somebody that I believed even at 18 years old that we should be running this country like a business and leave social issues up to the states and the people in the states to decide. So I voted for Ross Perot, and I was one of the many that ended up splitting the ticket, and there's a reason why we got Bill Clinton. I mean, I obviously learned from that, but I voted with what I believed would be the best for this country. The Republicans don't have the best interest as a whole. Not all of them before everybody starts freaking out. But Republicans our government, Republican and Democrat, are two sides of the same coin, as far as I'm concerned. They're all bought, they're all paid for. And they don't care about you and I.
Rob. I voted for Perot.
Okay.
I swear to God.
All right. Well, that's great. That's awesome. I mean, I'm not the only one now. But the point is that they are for themselves. They are for the proliferation of money and power and clout. I call it clout. You can call it whatever the hell you want. Stature, status. That's what they care about. We are serfs to them. Once you get to that level and attain that level, we are nothing but a problem to them. Our guns, our freedom of speech, our critical thinking skills, these are not things that they want from us. They want to do everything in their power to subvert us and subjugate us. So no, I believe that they are doing the exact same thing that the left are doing, except they're doing it subversively, whereas the left is doing it kinetically. And it's more kinetic now than it's ever been. But the other thing too is they want us to be divided. It's like when I was in the club, when I was in the MC, I said one time, because obviously I was new, and I said, well, you know, the other opposing clubs, and I said, well, why don't we sit down with them and tell them this is, you know, we're not doing this fucking bullshit, because I've always been the guy that even in that, and they were like, dude, did you really just say that? I'm like, yeah. I was like, because I didn't want to go to fucking war because they had a different cut on. I'm like, that's fucking stupid. And when the fuck are we going to grow the fuck up? You know, this is not what fucking men do. And they were like, dude, listen. He goes, we've tried, but every time we try, something happens. And it's always the FBI or somebody in law enforcement that kind of pushes that little button to keep the two warring, because the last thing they ever want is for us to come together. That's the scariest thing. That's the reason why the race hustlers are trying to keep black people and white people at each other's throats, because God forbid white and black, the true fucking enemy, which is the government. God forbid this entire country became unified in their hatred of how our government is treating us. They don't want that. So they keep doing shit the way they're doing right now to keep us at each other's throats. It's all distraction so that they can go over here and do all the shit that they want to do over on this side. And if you were watching me live, I'm pushing myself off to the right here. But that's what they want. They don't want us to be unified. But at the same time, there are people who are all for this. That's Antifa. They want violence. They want this shit. Some of them are paid for. Some of them are doing it because they're going to gain whatever they think they're going to gain from this. But there are a lot of fucking truly insane people on the left that buy into this hook, line, and sinker and are willing to fucking kill for it. So there's my long-winded answer for you, Cap. Corey, what's going on, brother?
Oh man, it's been a very impactful show. In all honesty, I thought that here in Chicago that somebody would try to pull something like this with the protesters that are outside of the Broadview facility. And I grew up a town next to that. I grew up in Maywood, Illinois, and so I know Broadview very well. But they did put this place put this facility in place in 2012. I remember one time I got locked up. And they had ICE come in and pick up. It was in Stone Park, and they had ICE come pick up the people, whether they would deport them or anything like that. I didn't know anything about the deportation stuff that they had back in the day. But I remember that it was more friendlier. And now we have all of these crazies and fucktards that are outside of the Barabi facility. I'm like, listen, this is never that big of a thing. And now all of a sudden they want to protest come up. And then now we have somebody that wants to shoot people. And now it's a copycat effect, if you ask me. Now that that happened to the brother Charlie Kirk, and now people are starting to think, well, I can do the same thing, and I can further my cause. Well, if you didn't see the picture with his fucking brain splattered out, that's your fate. We hope that people will get it, but they won't. People think they're dying for ideology, and they die, and they will be martyred. They will be hailed as this hero and whatnot. Maybe by that small secular dumbass community, they don't even know the difference between the man and the female. But you will always be looked as a monster from regular people. Yeah. So just looking at the protesters that are here, I haven't went by the Barabi facility. I've thought about going by there, uh, laughing and whatnot, but I try to stay away from the protest because I don't want to fucking pistol slap somebody.
That'd be funny to watch. I mean, listen, if you ever go by there and you want to shoot me a DM, I'll send you a link to the studio that we're in right now. And you want to go live, I'll air that shit live, bro. I can go on anytime I want. You let me know.
Yeah, maybe I need to hit the local chapter up and tell them we should pay a little visit down there.
Yeah, like I said, just shoot me a DM. I mean, listen, we actually had somebody at in Dallas today. One of the guys from the studio was there, and we have world exclusive video of. I mean, I say that because that's how Enrique said it, but world first exclusive video of, and I think he was maybe 40 feet away from when they took the body off the roof and put it in the coroner's van. And so, I mean, listen, we're not opposed to filming stuff live. So if you ever want to do it, man, I'm down.
Yeah, and I got the Ray-Ban glasses too. I can go live with those. And you can see all the things. Yeah, I got the Ray-Ban glasses. And once you go live with that and just looking, it's just craziness.
I don't know. I've been wearing Wiley X for like 15 years now. I used to wear Ray-Bans, but now Wileys are the best.
Corey's a baller.
Well, you know about the Ray-Bans that record, right?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah, the Metas.
Yeah, the Metas.
Yeah, I got those. They got a new one out now. I'm like, shit. I'm starting to be like iPhone fucking users. Every time a new one come out, I want the new one. But now the other glasses look like they real nice. These are nice too, but damn, they didn't upgrade.
I got to check them out. All right, so let's see. Before I get to Doc, I want to go to merch, and then I'm going to go to Aaron, and then I'm going to go to Choose Liberty, and then we'll go back to Doc. So go ahead, merch. Welcome to the stage.
Hey, thanks for having me. Just listening to your space. Corey, if you come out on Friday. There'll be a lot of people. Starts at 7. People are usually there earlier. Quite in agreement with you, but you're more than welcome to be there. I'm curious, who is Antifa to you guys? Because I've been dropping a few things into your chat while we've been talking, and I don't really think that people are as far off as you're being led to believe, and you're talking about divisionary. But I've checked out a few of your profiles, whether it be you, Patriot, or whoever, and I'm a proponent of First Amendment, Second Amendment, etc. I wouldn't call myself a Democrat. I swing severely more left than that. I am anti-fascism. I do come from a country where fascism was a thing and impacted my family. And we fought against fascism in this country. We killed Nazis. So I'm not sure what Antifa means to you guys if we already are originally anti-fascists. So I'd love to hear more about that.
So I'm going to take this, and then I'm actually going to go to Doc. What you have to understand, the difference between anti-fascists of, say, 50 years ago fighting against a fascist government. I don't know if you listened to the beginning of the show, but now...
just 20 minutes ago,
okay,
sorry.
so now Antifa is this psychotic left-wing ideology that says that if you don't align with, say, pronouns, preferred pronouns, you're a fascist or you're a bigot. If you don't believe that children should be trans, you're a bigot. If you don't believe that it's okay to talk about homosexuality in health class with 11 and 12-year-olds, that you're a fascist and a bigot. If me having genital preferences where I would never sleep with a fucking man, okay, even if it's pretending to be a woman, I am a bigot and a fascist. This is what they have turned that into. Antifa now does not stand for being anti-fascist. They are the most fascist. They don't allow freedom of speech. They don't want freedom of speech. For me saying this right now, I am on an Antifa list because I am a bigot and I am a fascist and I am a transphobe and a homophobe and a xenophobe and every istphobe and ism because I freely say faggot. And I don't care because you know what? I'm Gen X. We called everybody and everything faggot when I was growing up.
So you don't change things just because you did things like you did in the past?
No, I don't. I shouldn't have to. This is America.
No, it's not about
No. This is America. I'll say what the fuck I want.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing that I'm coming to you as a white man too. So,
I'm not white.
I don't really care. At the end of the day, listen, man, I'm also a straight white man. I really couldn't care about the words. I think the words are more.
That's interesting.
I think the words are about respect.
What, did you not know that I was Sicilian, Corey? I got more.
No, I got more. This what Merch just said. He was crazy.
Don't play off like you're not white being Sicilian. Anyways, so
you don't know anything about Sicily. You don't know nothing about Sicily, motherfucker.
Asia, Africa, where is it? It's not. It's a Caucasus region, bro.
It was invaded by the Moors, which were from northern Africa. And for 250 years, they controlled Sicily. That's why we have dark skin and dark eyes. But we're talking about Antifa and how Antifa of today is vastly different than the Antifa that tried to actually take down fascist governments. And we don't live in a fascist government right now.
We do, actually.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Yes,
no, not even close.
Wait, let me explain why is he saying
all right,
that?
Corey, hold on. Corey, hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on. So Merch, if you don't know, I'm actually Merch, hold on 1 second. Okay. Yeah. I allow and I bring people up to speak that I don't agree with, but you also have to respect the fact that this is my show and that I also have a live broadcast going. So I'm going to reset the space by saying we do have a live podcast going. And that everybody needs to raise their hands, please. It'd be greatly appreciated. And I'm going to end the live now because somebody else is going to use the studio, but the space is going to keep going. So let me get the show over, the live show over, and then give me 2 minutes, and then we're going to come back to this. All right, everybody, thank you for joining Critical Mass with me, your host, Patriot Rob. Thank you guys for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. If you do want to support the show and support me in this endeavor of mine, we do have the hats that are live and we do have t-shirts. And hopefully by Friday this week, we are going to have our sweatshirts, and which is going to be, I hope they'll be done. And with that said, my guest on Friday, I'm really excited about this guest, and I'm glad the people in the space can hear this too. My guest is going to be a man by the name of Zeke Arkham, and he's a former NYPD. He's a big conservative voice here on X, and he agreed to do the show. So he's going to be my guest on Friday, and then next week we have a gentleman by the name of Chris Feistel. He was the DEA agent that took down Pablo Escobar. That's going to be a great. He just wrote a book about it, and his character was seen in Narcos season 3. I'm really excited about that one. And then we have a couple of really good guests coming up this month, and I'm looking forward to that. So thank you guys very much, and we are out.